A dark moment in Milwaukee history left unaddressed for 162 years is now coming to light. In our Sunday morning spotlight, Michelle Fiore has the story of two men who fought hard to make sure the victim of Milwaukee County's only recorded lynching is never forgotten.
It was a horrible scene, a horrible situation, really a black stain for Milwaukee.
These are some of the earliest photos of Milwaukee. On these streets, an African-American man named Marshall Clark took a job as an apprentice barber at his father's barbershop and made a friend named James Shelton. The year was 1861.
At that time, the Third Ward was full of a lot of bars.
Randy Bryant is chairperson of the Milwaukee County Landmarks Committee. October 11th, he took the podium before a large crowd on Buffalo near Water Street.
Today is not a celebration day or a joyous day, but a day to honor the life of George Marshall Clark.
A plaque in memory of George Marshall Clark is now permanently on display in the Third Ward, thanks to the committee. It's just steps away from where the 23-year-old was murdered by a vengeful mob in 1861.
It was important to put it in the area where the lynching actually occurred so people could understand, they could contextualize that this is like a demarcation of where the event occurred.
Back then, the Third Ward may have been described as gritty. And although Wisconsin was a free state, racial tensions were rising. Of Milwaukee's 45,000 population, just over 100 were black.
They worked as barbers, carpenters, masons, so that was considered to be fairly good work. However, as more immigrants came in, the blacks were relegated to the bottom once again, so therefore they took on more domestic roles, so working as domestics and servants.
September 6th, 1861 was a night out for George Marshall Clark and his friend James Shelton. Here on Michigan Street, the pair met up with a saloon owner, Darby Carney. Words were exchanged. Shelton stabbed Carney. Carney later died, and police arrested both Clark and Shelton.
Once Darby died, the crowd went down to the jailhouse, and they had already pre-planned this. They said, if he dies, we're going to go there and we're going to lynch one of these gentlemen.
This historic newspaper clipping says Chief of Police Beck rallied his police force, but they were quickly overcome. Beck being knocked down as he attempted to guard the entrance to the jail. And in the confusion, Shelton escaped, but Clark was taken to the number 6 engine house where he had a mock trial and was sentenced to be hung.
They beat him really bad, drug his body. He was almost dead by the time they hung him. And then when he was lynched, they wanted to leave his body hanging overnight. He pleaded for his life and let them know, I did not do this. I did not commit this crime. And there's a couple people that question, maybe, do we really have the right guy?
Lynchings are a dark part of American history, reported in the South from 1877 to 1950. And even today, the word lynching's pretty much only associated with the South.
I remember someone mentioned it to me, like while walking downtown somewhere. I think we were on like Broadway, and they were just like, yeah, did you know someone was lynched down here? And I'm just like, no, I had no idea, tell me more. And that led me to Google searching.
Tyrone Randall's a Milwaukee artist whose murals of historic significance have gotten him noticed.
I don't know, I was kind of like confused by it. I don't, because like I said before, this is always been told to us to be something that happened in the South. Like, this does not happen here. It's not taught in schools that this ever happened here.
Randall was on a mission in 2020 to learn more about Marshall Clark when racial tensions were rising around the country, just as they had been in 1861, this time with sympathy for the murder of George Floyd. Randall was marching with the People's Revolution when he says he experienced something that changed his life.
And I felt really connected to Marshall's story just through my experience.
Randall says police tried to detain him. Then he was run over by a car.
They essentially chased me down. I remember putting my hands in the air, and because I got trapped behind a bunch of people, and I just like got nudged, and they like knocked me between their shields and then into a car. And then after I bounced off the car, I ended up on the ground. Where they were like then wrenching like a knee in my back and my arm being like wrenched behind me, and next thing you know, I like see headlights coming at me full on, and I see like legs parting the lights, and I'm just like, they're leaving me out here. I broke 3 ribs, both sides of my pelvis and my lower spine. I had a concussion, and at some point during that, I blacked out and I wasn't there, and then I came back to.
Randall was moved to try to find the resting place of Marshall Clark. His search led him to Forest Home Cemetery in Milwaukee.
So he would be a whole plot over. He's over here.
But after 2 long days looking for a headstone,
Don't tell me this man's grave is unmarked.
Randall found there was none.
That changed the whole everything. Not now, okay, he needs a headstone. He needs, acknowledgement. How is it that he's been here for 160 years and no one's known?
Randall started a GoFundMe to get Marshall Clark a headstone, and it worked. Hundreds donated, and this was the dedication ceremony.
I was really happy to know that a lot of the white citizens of Milwaukee, the white Milwaukeeans here that live here, are the ones that donated to this fund. And I think that was beautiful. For me, it was really, it's a close for Marshall. And that's a great thing, but there's so many other stories here to be told still.
Randall walked us around Forest Home Cemetery on this crisp autumn day, showing us others he hopes will one day join Marshall Clark and find their stories in history books at schools all over the country.
Eventually, I feel like that'll happen, especially seeing that someone else took up the torch and got him a plaque. That was full circle. Full circle. And that's what this was for.
Milwaukee is a town that is poised for greatness. The ability to get there will depend upon our ability to work all together as one. It's not a community for blacks. It's not a community for whites. It's a community for everyone.
You'll